Remember when you were playing? Well, back in the day, you used to play out in the streets. The old adage is you played until your mother called you in because it was too dark. And you probably, well, not argued with her, but told her, but mom, it's still kind of light. You can see what you're doing, even though you couldn't see the ball if you're playing football or whatever game it was. You were in a state of flow. When you truly play, you were in flow. Because the football match seemed to last 10 minutes, even though it was a full 90 minutes. The game, when you were chatting with your friends and you felt chill, it was that state of flow because you're all kind of in cahoots with each other, that energy you felt, you were exchanging of energy, you were completely lost in the game, be it a sport, whatever you were playing, or even sometimes a board game, you were completely caught up in the moment and you look up, it's 5 hours later. And sometimes, yes, even beyond play, it's with a relationship, that first date, the second date, where you kind of lost track of time and it's like, you kind of want to, you should logically and rationally leave, but it's already 2 a.m. and you want to stick around, you kind of in flow with each other, your energy is flowing, feels great, right? And you like lose track of time and I fall in love and all those wild things. I know the horror show was later, but during those early days, it was flow, right? It was great, right? It was great, right? Wow, so you're in flow with the person. And it's amazing to feel that way. You want that energy when you're playing. And then we become adults at some stage and we do things like work. And there's a lot of structure to work, 8 to 5 and rules and regulations. And you just kind of hit walls all the time. So there's no flow. You're in fact kind of stagnating. You're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, not sure what to do. So we get caught up in life and work. And even when you're in the relationship, the one that you were in flow in, then did you remember to buy the bread? And you're more concerned about buying the bread and milk and being home at a certain time and meeting up to the rules and regulations and conditions of a relationship. So you kind of lose all flow. And the idea is, though, we all want to tap into that flow. And one of the ways they speak of work, for example, is how do you know you at flow? First of all, you got to do what you enjoy. So when work seems play, and you may say, when is work play? But many people lots of people who are successful in the work is play because they're doing something that comes naturally to them. I remember a guy who was a well-known cartoonist, draws the cartoons. And he says as a youngster, you would watch in the States, United States, they show cartoons in the old days, they would show it on a Saturday morning. And he would love watching it. And he realized later that, hey, people actually pay you to draw cartoons. And he thought, this is amazing. This is like Saturday morning sitting at home watching cartoons. He was in flow with what he did. We want to be in flow, and the idea is where work becomes your play. And what we do though, and this is where you got to turn it into from competition to creation again. Competition is where you adhere to a set of rules and you got to win according to those set of rules. And you hope like hell those rules suit you. All right. So if you're a stocky American football player, there's a particular position that you will be suited for, right? And it may not be the quarterback who throws the ball. He's got to be adept with his hand. And if you're this huge big guy who's the defense, I assume, your body genetics and stuff is suited to that role. So therefore you'll be the best in that competition. But many of us may not be suited for a particular role. And it may seem as a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing because you got to create your role. You got to create who you are. And then you're in flow with who you authentically are and uniquely are. You're being true to your individuality. So, for example, I was reading a book by a guy called Tom Peters who wrote the book In Search of Excellence, or something to that extent, business book. And a book I managed to pick up of his called Circle of Innovation. And one of his chapters in the book is along the lines of the celebration of nerds, right? And it's about not Warren Buffett, I guess more Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. Why would that be seen? Why does he say it's the victory of the nerds or guys who would seen as intellectual? Because in this day and age, we are living in a mental, intellectual era. It's not about how fast you can run, it's about how fast your mind can run. Or not how fast you physically run, but how fast your mind can run. Okay? And what's happening is that's where someone like Bill Gates describes getting up at 3 a.m, and Malcolm Gladwell in his book describes that the circumstances and situation and I'll use the word, the competition suited Bill Gates, because he could get up at 3. There perchance was a university down the road where they would go into the computer labs and work on the computers from 3, 4 in the morning until it was time to go to school. And years later, his mom says, I wondered why he was always sleepy for school. But the man was developing the intellectual cognitive prowess to deal with computers during those hours. Right? It wasn't necessarily maybe for him to do college work. He was already doing it in high school. So he was ahead of the bunch. And it was something that fascinated him. Not many kids will get up at 3 in the morning to go to a computer lab. This is what he found fascinating, was his inclination, his passion. Now, as much as he has that passionate inclination, you also have it. You gotta know and be not fearful to facing up to who you truly are. Why I'm saying not fearful is because you and I have been wired to believe that we've got to fit into some other genre rather than the genre that you actually are. We feel I've got to fit in with some other societal expectation rather than the expectation of who you truly are. And your true authenticity, your true integrity means getting in touch with who you are, and that's a manifestation and expression that is fighting to be released. And when you release it, it's in flow with the universe, because once you're authentic, you're aligned with something powerful. And what's fascinating about being in flow is that, I'll throw it out there, life becomes effortless. Because then you're in cahoots and collaboration with the universe. It doesn't mean you will not encounter obstacles and challenges. You will. But you got to recognize that the obstacles and challenges you encounter is like a brick wall in front of you that's pushing you to the left so you can go around the obstacle and find a better way through. Rather than what we do when we live a life of competition and logic and rationality, is when we face with an obstacle, we think, oh, this is it. Why is this in my way? Recognize that the universe is conspiring for your greater truth. It's in flow with you. And when you live that way, you become, as the word flow suggests, like water that goes around the rock. At times, yes, you need to be a rock as well, rather than water, to fight through simple barriers or an energy that holds you low. But many times, you just flow with life. But you know where you're going to. Be assertive as well as to where you want to go. Challenge the status quo. Because that way the universe can work using you as a conduit, a vehicle for its expression at a greater level. Because as much as you and I dream, you and I are dreaming too small. The universe has a 10,000 times far bigger dream. And you decide whether you want to be in alignment and cahoots with that dream. And there is no loneliness, because if you think of it, and what I'm suggesting, you may be lonely in terms of people, but when you're aligned with the universe, you're in aligned with the entire universe. And people will resonate with that energy. And whether the other endeavor to be in flow is not to be attached to the outcome of what you do. Because your outcome, your consequence that you seek as what you do, the result that you seek, may be actually small in the greater scheme of what life is seeking. Allow life to seek greater than what you want to achieve. And the example I'm reminded of is Amit Kathrada. I'm not sure if I shared it with you all before. Is that, yeah. So what was interesting, they had a more powerful dream, freedom, which was illogical, irrational. 27 years in jail, you might argue, was Nelson Mandela in flow. But at some level, he was authentic and aligned to a greater cause. And the universe really challenged Mandela and those who were in jail for 27 years. I mean, the torture, physical, mental, emotional, they went through. But they achieved for this country a higher energy level. It took such great, authentic energy to shift this country that, fortunately, I don't think we'll ever return back to pre-94. It's impossible, we'd like to believe. All right? What was fascinating, he shifted the energy. A couple of people who are being authentic and true to who they were So flow doesn't guarantee, oh yes, the doors will open up, the love of my life will come dancing in. Because as much as you endeavor, the universe has a far more powerful story. Look at where we are now in terms of the journey. It's beyond fathomable. It was illogical and irrational prior to 94. Yes, there are challenges, and we're going to encounter 10,000 more, because we are not, and this is something also important to recognize, the planet Earth history goes back, some will argue, tens of thousands of years. It's not been, as much as there's been religion and spirituality and humans who've come across who really fundamentally made the difference, we still, as much as we progress, we also regress. As much as we progress in terms of setting up a United Nations in the name of peace, we regress in terms of climate change. As much as peace has become the biggest wow word in terms of organizations, the armaments industry is the biggest industry in the world. As much as we say health, wealth, we have alcohol and tobacco industries that make money by the billions. So yes, we will recognize you do your best and let the universe take care of the rest. Do your best and do not get attached to the outcome of what you do. Then you're in flow. When you're in flow, you be first and you do. And very important, because usually we say you do, then you have, then we be. This is how we generally do. I need to do, then I'll have some money, then I'll be wealthy. But we need to change the whole thinking around to being wealthy in terms of health, wealth, hopefully, relationships, and do. But very important, it doesn't matter whether you have or have not. You did your best, you do your best, and whether you have or have not, it's up to the universe to determine. Because interestingly enough, philosophically, they've been arguing, oh, we got to change it from do to have, and be from to be, do, have. But there's no guarantees in this world. But if you be and you do and you have no attachment to the have, you may get more than you actually chose to have, but that's a different story. No one can predict that, but you are comfortable within yourself. And that changes the outlook on life. Be the best you can be in terms of a father, partner, relationship. Give love unconditionally with no expectation of return. It will change your world. Because love or joy, they say, the joy, in the joy of others lies your own. In the love of others lies your own. In the happiness of others lies your own. But what we generally want is, how do I have love and joy and happiness? Give to others, and whether you get it or not, you'll find it slowly has no choice but to permeate your entire being. And when you're in flow, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, one might argue, or beings within you are in line, authentic, and integral to the goal. And then you are chasing a truth, a purpose. And then the passion that comes out within you manifests as a purpose. Because passion is what I want out of life. Purpose is what life wants out of you. And it becomes effortless. You're then also very important, because you're all burnt out chasing the pace of life. You are then in rhythm with life. You're in flow with the world. You know, like when you watch a river, if it's flat, it's chill. If there's a waterfall cascade, it's crazy. Or it's a rapids, it's even more, it's crazy. Like that, you're in rhythm, where at some points you will experience the winter. At other times, the summer, autumn, spring. But you're in flow. You are not attached to the outcome of your journey. You are detached, but you still give your absolute effort.